This is going to be a great day. This is the brand new Sigma 35 1.2 DG2. So this is it. This is the brand new Sigma 35 1.2 DG2. This is a really impressive lens. Now Sigma's got a long history with 35s, of course. The original 35 1.4 Art Series lens really put Sigma on the map with their Art Series of lenses because it was better than the Canon and Nikon offerings at the time, but half the price. So Sigma's gone a long ways from there, and this is the second generation of a 35 1.2, a very fast aperture 35mm lens. Now I really love a 35mm focal length. It's my favorite focal length for capturing things, so any chance I get to shoot a brand new 35mm, that means I'm out shooting the street, shooting life in general. That's what these lenses are designed for. A lot of fun to work with. Let's get into it. Now, it's been 6 years since Sigma launched the original 35 1.2, and it was fairly big and chunky. People quite liked what they're getting out of that lens. However, it was the size that was kind of an issue with it. Now, with the generation 2 of this lens, they've been able to shrink that optics down to about 30% lighter than the predecessor, and certainly much smaller. I mean, if you can compare these two side by side, you can certainly see a substantial difference between these two. Now, when it comes to the weight of this lens, the Sony E-Mount version is 750 grams or 26 ounces, and the L-mount is slightly heavier at 755 grams or 26 ounces. Now, when you first get your hands on a new camera or a lens, your first impressions of how the fit and finish and how it feels in your hand certainly come into play. And with this lens, it certainly feels substantially smaller than just 30% I'm finding. What I like about it is we do have a giant knurled knob on the front here, which allows us to do manual focus. It is drive-by-wire. That's okay, though. I'm okay with that. They've implemented it so much better than they have in the past, so it doesn't really matter to me. The second ring on the back here is our aperture ring, which is a manual ring. I can go from full automatic, let the camera control the aperture, to controlling the aperture through the lens here, which is quite nice. And it is clickable and declickable, so it's really nice if I want to stop down without any kind of steps, I can make that happen. Above that, we have a very basic manual focus autofocus switch and a custom button here, which we can customize through the camera for a bunch of different features. Now, it does come supplied with a really nice pedal-shaped hood, which if you picture it here, it's about this big. It looks fantastic. I conveniently left it at home today, so unfortunately I don't have that to show you on our little trip around downtown Calgary. But it is a really well-built hood. It is a really well-built lens. It is weather sealed. Sigma's done a very good job. Their Art Series just keep getting better and better and better every generation. Now, the lens is really well built and just has the basic controls, but they're really well laid out and implemented. Now, if we dig deeper, if we geek out a little bit, I mean, the lens itself is about 3.2 inches wide or about 4.5 inches long or about 8 by 11 centimeters. So relatively small lens for what this focal length is and that aperture. Now, if we dig deeper into the lens, we're going to find out there's 17 different elements in 11 different groups. But the impressive part is there's 4 aspherical elements inside of this lens, and they are sort of the more expensive optics out there that really help to correct for all kinds of chromatic aberrations and all kinds of optical flaws. We're going to talk about the image quality in a minute here, but the other thing I want to talk about is the 1.2 aperture. Now, we do have an 11-bladed circular aperture because at 1.2 with a 35, I can really start drawing attention through depth of field to the subject matter that I want, and I love what I'm getting out of this. Usually people find if they're shooting with like an 85mm lens that they get that super shallow depth of field. We don't see it as much with the wider angles, but a 35mm 1.2 can really give you that aesthetic of a shallower depth of field in a wider frame. I love what this lens is giving me as far as that look goes, but it's that 11-bladed circular aperture that's putting in the work to make that happen. If you take a look at these shots here, the bokeh is very, very pleasing. Now, when you really push it, if you shoot something relatively close up, you can see that the bokeh is really quite nice in the center, but it does fall off into kind of more cat's eyes into the corners when you're shooting at 1.2. Stop it down to f2.8, you can really see that bokeh being put to work, and it's a nice creamy look. I'm really enjoying what I'm getting out of this lens as far as that bokeh. So when it comes to the actual sharpness of this lens and the optical performance, I'm really impressed with what I'm getting out of it. I mean, take a look at these sample shots here of the wall here. And at 1.2, if you zoom into the center, you can see what kind of sharpness you're getting. And even into the corners, we lose a little bit, but it's not bad at all. So of course, this lens produces some really nice bokeh, and I like the effect I'm getting out of it. But that's just one factor into a lens's performance. Sharpness is another huge one. I mean, we're always striving for the sharpest lens that we can possibly get, and we get giddy when we can zoom in on details and see that ultimate clarity. And this lens provides that in spades. It is a fantastic lens that way. So I'm really impressed with what I'm getting out of this as far as sharpness goes. The other big factor with this lens is they've dealt with chromatic aberration extremely well. If you look at our starburst test and some other tests where I'm trying to really try and drag some chromatic aberration into the scene, you can see that this lens really handles it well. So we've been walking around downtown Calgary here shooting a lot of street, and oftentimes we need some really quick autofocus. Now, thanks to Sigma's high linear actuating motor built into this lens, the focusing speed is very quick. I mean, you can hear focusing min-max, right? It's very, very quick, right? We're getting out of this. But watch our more boring test here of me walking towards the camera and our min-max test in a more controlled environment, and you can see what to expect when it comes to this lens. It does acquire focus very quickly, and I have no trouble capturing the subjects I want with it. So what's cool about this lens, it's not all about still photography, it's a fantastic video lens as well. I mean, right now I'm recording Arafat, who's shooting with the 35 1.4 G Master, which she's shooting the entire video on. And if you look at this, the focus breathing as I get closer or further away, it's pretty well handled. You can see our more controlled test here. You can see that focus breathing is pretty darn good on this lens. Now, something else I really like about this lens that makes it that much more versatile is its minimum focusing distance is 28 centimeters, or just a little over 11 inches. So it allows me to get fairly close. It's not a macro lens, but it does add to that flexibility of making this lens work. Overall, what do I make of this Sigma 35 1.2 DG version 2? Well, I didn't want to put it down. I mean, of course, I love 35mm. It's my go-to focal length for shooting street, capturing life, and just everything in general. I love that focal length. So that wasn't a surprise for me whatsoever. But the 1.2 aperture is great, having that extra stop, and it's not a matter of getting the proper shutter speed sometimes, but it's that depth of field that we don't often get with a 35mm. We usually are shooting a little bit wider depth of field, unfortunately, with some lesser lenses. But some 35 1.2s on the market are significantly bigger. I mean, for Sigma being able to reduce this by 20% in size and 30% in weight makes it a much more manageable unit to work with. And I like the fit and finish of this lens, and especially the results I'm getting out of it. I mean, I just kept wanting to shoot and shoot and shoot. I had to drag Arafat back to the store. He's like, come on, Dave, we got to get done. We got to finish up shooting. But I didn't want to put it down because everywhere I looked, there's something I wanted to capture. After all, my lasting impression of this lens is that it is a fantastic offering from Sigma, and they are really stepping up their game by giving people what they want. Very fast primes that deliver excellent optical results. But I, of course, want to know what you guys think of this lens. Do you already have a 35 1.2 in any other brand or with the original Sigma? Is this a lens that you want to upgrade to or you want to look into for the very first time? Let me know in the comments down below. Follow us on Instagram, hit the notification bell. We'll catch you again next time.